Smallworld lifters. Today I'm here with, introduce yourself.
Anthony Oliveira.
From?
Westside Barbell.
Anthony, tell me, who are you outside Westside?
I'm in Westside a lot, so I'm not really outside of Westside very much. I like to hang out with my dog and listen to music and like train people online for a living, so I do that most of the time, but it basically consumes almost every waking hour that I have. So
yeah,
as far as like, because you're just always thinking about it, so even if you're not there, you're there like upstairs. So outside of that, it's like I spend time with my girlfriend or my fiance and my dog, and then other than that, man, it's just like eat, sleep, train.
Yeah, no other hobbies.
I mean, not at this point, man. You know, like I sell like t-shirts on the side, so that's like a hobby of mine, and I read. But other than that, it's like I'm always trying to prepare for the next phase of training or the next day of training, just because like I have a smaller window because I started powerlifting later in life. So like I just want to like get as much as I can out of it. So basically like obsessed. So yeah, trigger warning conjugate. We're on Instagram. Stay hated is the hashtag. We have like t-shirts and hats and stickers and all that stuff, and then also I train people online, and you can find all that stuff on the Instagram.
So that's your day job outside of lifting?
Yes.
So how do you juggle that around the lifting?
Basically, like I'll train and then I'll come home, you know, shower, eat, whatever, and then I'm on the computer for probably between like 3 to 6 hours a day, coaching, marketing, reaching out to people, doing programming and all that. So basically like I just slip it in, you know, either during or before meals, try and get everything done before, you know, it's time to get ready for the next day.
Yeah, you talked about your meals. How many calories are you consuming and what kind of meals?
So I don't count calories. I just kind of eat when I need to. I can like tell when I'm underfed. So I try and eat clean, like 70-30, you know.
Do you eat to recover? Or?
Yeah. So like post-workout, I'll have like a protein shake with a whey isolate and coconut water, and then an hour after that I'll have like a half a pound of ground turkey with a bunch of pasta. Yeah. And then after that, it's mostly like snacks, and if I feel underfed, I'll get some fast food. But like for the most part, I try to eat clean, but there's no way I can get in enough food with just clean food. So like if I see it and I'm hungry, I'll eat it basically.
So what's your favorite pre-comp meal?
Chinese food or like Olive Garden. And I know like Olive Garden is like shitty Italian food, but it just like for some reason I can like, especially if I cut weight, if it's like before the night before a meet, like that stuff's easy to just like get down. That's like a last meal when you've been eating all day trying to put weight back on.
What got you into lifting?
So I trained my whole life, like because I played hockey for 13 years, but I got away from that, like got in some trouble and stuff, and then I found lifting as like a way to keep myself out of trouble. And then it just kind of like progressed from like you know, Planet Fitness, like bro lifting, to sort of like just trying to get bigger. And then I found out about powerlifting, and it was like, okay, I want to get like, as strong as I can, and it just sort of like evolved from there. I'm very like tunnel vision. So as soon as I decided I wanted to get strong, I was like, this is the only thing that matters right now. So.
And you're not even from Columbus originally?
Right, yeah, from New Hampshire, so like 800 miles east of Columbus. I've been here for September will be 2 years. So I moved out here. I got the invite in, you know, August. I moved out here 6 weeks later, and then I've been here ever since. Yeah.
So I would have just missed you last time I came down.
Yeah, just by like a couple weeks. It was early September.
How and when did you realize you had abilities in powerlifting?
Oh man. I mean, I don't really consider myself to have because I look at the guys around me in the gym, and like I have a good squat or whatever, but as far as like total lifter, like I look around and I'm like, shit, like these guys are, I try and stay humble with what I think, but I always knew I had strong legs. So like my squat consistently went up when I just started training. And then, you know, I don't think I really realized my full potential until like Lou got a hold of me. And then he was like, I could put 100 pounds on your squat in 3 months. And he did. And then I was like, holy shit. Like, I might be able to do something cool. So that's when it like really kind of came, like, I was like, all right, this is a possibility that I could do something that actually matters. So
before you got into conjugate, have you used any other training programs, and how did you get on with those?
Yeah, so I did like starting strength, like 5x5. So I squatted 3 times a week, progressive overload, like linear periodization. And then I sort of did like, I found this article about conjugate, and I sort of took the variations out, and instead I would do like linear periodization with my main movements, but then I still had the accessories. So I kind of like built my main lifts up going into a competition.
Yeah.
And I did that for 2 or 3 like raw meets, and then I switched over to full-blown like max effort speed. But it kind of was like a progression from the 5x5 into sort of like a dumbed down conjugate, and then into like full-blown conjugate. Like I still learn stuff about the system every day. So
Yeah.
I try and like keep evolving as the system evolves, you know, learn more and more.
Did you find that the conjugate system taught you more about yourself as a lifter?
Yeah, well, you have to, like, you're forced to.
Yep.
Because you can, you know, what does Louie say? Like, being good at the wrong exercises isn't going to do anything for you. So you kind of have to be able to, like, self-evolve, like, self-evaluate and be like, okay, there's no need for me to train my quads. I'm quad dominant. So it's more important for me to train my hamstrings or my low back or whatever it may be. But yeah, so like training conjugate, you're kind of just like thrown to the wolves, and it's like, I got to figure this shit out myself, you know? Because no one can, like, people can guide you, but they can't really tell you because they can't feel what you're feeling. So.
Yeah. Let's talk about you as a lifter now. So what do you think you have in common with other Westside lifters that makes you able to lift there, and what does it take for you?
So like the mindset of just like not missing days, training harder, that environment is such a brutal environment, and like it's hard to explain for people who haven't been there, you know. We kind of talked about it earlier. It's like until you've been there for a while, you can't really appreciate like how intense that building is. But I'd say like the one thing we all have in common is just like being able to flick that switch and be like, all right, like it's go time right now. Be able to handle pressure, and like, you know, because we handle weird bars, chains, like low box, high box, deficit pulls, all that all the time, so that we go to a meet, like the pressure at a meet isn't shit compared to what we see in the gym. So I think that that's like something we all have in common, is just like that internal like fuck it switch.
But
you know?
Using all the variations, do you ever feel undertrained for the meet variation?
I don't think
ever.
So. I mean, like there's been times where it's like the farthest it goes in my head is like, where am I going to put my feet? You know, but like other than that, it's like that's part of that switch though, where you have to be an athlete. Like at the level that we're all at, is like you're like, okay, this is where they feel comfortable. This is where I'm going to go. This is just a back squat. This is just a straight bar, straight weight, full gear is the easiest thing you can do compared to what we do in the gym. So it's just being able to wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
You know, it's never like, I don't know how to do this. It's like the self-doubt of like, can I do that? It's like, yeah, I can do it, fuck it.
Training partners at Westside, who are your favorite and what are their best qualities?
So right now I train with Travis. He's relatively like new. I think he's been for about a year. He's been here, and like we feed off of each other. He pushes me with the pace, and like we're strong at different things, so it kind of levels out, and we're both like obsessive psychopaths about the sport. So like you know, we do all our extra workouts together. We meet for lunch 3 times a week to talk about training, and then go in and get our second workout in. But I've been taking on, like, you know, guys have taken me under their wing. Like, you know, Coker took me under his wing for a while when I first got here. Josh Connolly. These are guys that I trained with for stints here and there, and like, you know, I hope they got something from training with me, and I know I got a lot out of training with them.
So what did you get out of training with Coker, for example?
Like, that's a dude who's been doing this for ever.
Yeah.
Right? So like the little things where it's like, not necessarily training stuff. It's like mentality stuff where, you know, like I bombed out of a meet and he's like, get used to it, man. Because the longer you do this, the more times that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff like that, just like little like nuggets of knowledge that you get that might not be like a training thing, like you need to put your triceps in this position type of thing, but just like little things where it's like, hey man, like get used to that shit because it's going to happen a lot if you stick around.
And that's just the way the sport goes.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
How and when did you start training at Westside?
So like I said, I've been here for 2 years in September. I just sort of, I worked for a guy who knew Lou, and we came out to visit a couple times, and then basically like came out here to do a push-pull. I talked to Lou, he asked me to do a meet with them, and then I came out for Circumax, and when I did Circumax I asked him what I had to do to be part of the gym, and he basically told me to move out there. Then 6 weeks later, packed up my car and moved out here. So,
what is it about Westside that suits you?
I just like being around people who have the same mindset. Like I like having, like I never have to worry about not having spotters. I always know that I'm going to be around like some of the best minds in strength sports. Like Louie's a maniac, he knows everything. Tom Barry's a maniac, he fucking knows everything. There's dudes in the gym that have been doing this for years and years and years. Like there's dudes who've been doing this for 2/3 of my life in the gym, and then you know you've got like Hoff there who's been at Westside for 17 years. Like these guys know shit. They've forgot more than I know. So I like that about being there, and I like the like fuck the world, like we just want to get stronger thing. Like that suits me. Like I like that mentality of like tunnel vision.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a lot of pressure to perform at Westside?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the thing, right? So Lou cares about numbers, and it's not a slight towards him. It's just that's who he is. You know what I mean? Like he cares about numbers and moving the board, and he doesn't give a shit about anything else. And that's why Westside is, as you know, is what it is because of that. You know, if he was, if he cared about your feelings, or you know, like wanted to make sure you always felt good about everything all the time, then like Westside wouldn't be the strongest gym in the world. Like, he gives a shit about numbers, and so yeah, there's no pressure in lifting weights. None of us are making real money doing this, but you put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform well for the gym and perform well for Louie, and like, you know, perform well enough to fucking stay there. And
getting there at 6 a.m., 7 a.m.?
Yeah, I mean, you get there, you got to be able, you know, I'm under a bar at 7 a.m., 4 days a week. No questions asked. On Fridays, I'm there a half hour earlier than that. So you've got to be able to flip that switch. And like, the pressure is like, you've got to be ready every fucking day you're there.
Yeah. Talking about being ready, what keeps you motivated to train with such intensity day in and day out?
I just fucking love it. I don't really need motivation to do it because I like it. Like even the days where it's like I feel like I'm gonna puke, you know, we're doing reps or whatever, and it's like a hard workout or we're doing something I don't like. Like I love training. You know, there are days where like you don't want to go to the gym because you're tired or whatever, but like when it comes down to it, like the most enjoyable part of my day is lifting weights. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I love to do. So like I don't need like a motivational poster to get me up in the morning. I just want to get up and like do the best that I can. What's going through your head before you attempt a big PR or lift on the platform? So Lou hates this, but I'll share it. So every time I pick a bar out of the hooks for my squat, as I come up, I lift my head up, and it's been this way for years. I'll take a breath and I'll lift my head up, pull my chest through, and I think I'm gonna blow my knees off. And that's what goes through my head. And the reason is, like if I think that and I accept that as a possibility, then I'm not scared of big weights, you know, because if you're like, well, that could happen. But here we go. That's sort of like how I approach it. And then generally after I take a bar out, I don't remember doing a lift successful or unsuccessful. So like that's just like how I get myself in the zone where it's like you're a machine, like just take it out, your knees could come off, but fuck it, here we go.
Yeah.
That's sort of like how I approach it. But that's just before I get up to the platform, it's sort of like, better fucking do this, man.
Either way, the bar's gonna travel, man. What's it like training with your partner Valerie, who's at Sweatshop? Do you ever train out there yourself, and how do you balance between going to both of them?
So I don't train at the Sweatshop with her. On occasion, I'll go down with her, like to hang out or whatever. But we were training partners when I lived in New Hampshire. So it's really interesting because the two gyms are very similar, but they're different at the same time. So we have a lot of conversations about training and about like how certain stuff should be done. I'm super happy that she gets to be out there and train with those girls because they're animals, and like I think either of us could train at either gym, but I think we're at the right spots for ourselves, you know?
Yeah. You train twice a day, so your second session in a day, how do you normally structure your assistance training in this session, and do you ever do any assistance straight after max effort? So
I always do accessories after I do main movements. Like I get a workout in my first session no matter what, and I get accessories done. But my second workout is like stuff that I missed, or stuff that I was too exhausted to do, or stuff that I need extra work on. So like right now it's like abs and low back are what I go in there and I do on my secondary. But like, let's say like, you know, I go in and do a bench and I end up doing a bunch of upper back work after, but I want to get some more triceps in, then I'll go in at night and I'll do some triceps as well. It's like sort of like, look at what you did that day, what can you recover from, and then sort of do that, like, you know, find a happy medium.
Okay. Speaking of assistance, what's your favorite assistance exercise for bench, squat, and deadlift, and why?
So for squat, I would say for squat and deadlift, it's going to be like a camber bar good morning to a box. I really like those, like reaching really far back. I think it helps me keep my arch. It helps me get the bar out of the rack easier. With a deadlift, it helps me keep my chest up in the bottom before I pull a bar. I also have recently started doing a lot of snatch grip stuff, which is really good. I think those will help because it makes the movement longer. And then for bench, I really like extensions, any sort of extension, primarily dumbbells. Like I like dumbbell rollbacks. Okay. Just because I feel like I can really stretch real far and hit inside of my elbow really good.
Okay. And which of assistance for those movements is the biggest pain in the ass for you?
The good mornings, of course. Those are, you know, like, it's just like, you know they're going to make you better, but they're just awful when you do it. You know, like, they're my favorite because I know they carry over a lot, but I hate them because they're hard. Yeah. You know? And what about for bench? Which one do you hate doing? JM presses with like a football bar, where you like really let them ride into your neck like that. Just again, because they're super hard. You know they're going to carry over, but it's like, am I willing to do this right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. How much guidance do you get from Louie in the gym?
He gives you enough rope to hang yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like he guides you and tells you what you should be doing or what he thinks you should be doing, and then you sort of take that and extrapolate, you know, what you know works for you and kind of do that. Like, he'll never say, he generally doesn't say to us like, you need to do this for this amount of sets and this amount of reps. He'll say you need to work on your low back. Your low back is weak. Your triceps are weak. This is what I would do. And then you try it, and you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. He's not handing out programs. Yeah. For sure. He wants you to know the system.
It's kind of a similar question, but what's it like being coached by Louie?
It's good. It's intense. Like when I first came out here, it was like really intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, and then you realize like he's a god. You know, like he's the powerlifting god. You know, but like he's just a dude. Like he's just a guy. You know? And like when you get over that, it's really cool because you can have this sort of like this relationship with him where he communicates with everyone different. You know. And Louie's a genius when it comes to working with different personalities. So like he communicates with people differently. So you have your own, like, everybody's got their own little way that they communicate with Lou.
Yeah.
And it just takes a little bit to figure out like how to do it.
If you had to pick one, what is the most important lesson you've learned from Louie?
The first time I met him, he said, I had just bombed out of a meet. I went 198 in a meet, and I bombed out. And he said, why'd you do that? And I said, because I wanted to do this at 198. And he looked at me and he said, no one's going to ask what you weighed. They're only going to ask what you lifted. Mm-hmm. And that just stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, when it comes down to it, your grandkids or whatever are never going to look at you and be like, yeah, but did you do it at this body weight?
And
like,
how much did you cut?
They don't care about that, So it's like one of those things where it's like, do you want to say I squatted 1,000 pounds? Or do you want to say I squatted 900 pounds? Like, fuck it, I want to say I squatted 1,000, you know what I mean? So that really stuck with me.
For sure. What would you want to pass on to people trying to start out in lifting?
That cliche saying that like it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So the 5 pound PR that they talk about, like just 5 pound PR, it's like, it's who can stay in the game longest.
Yeah.
If I put 200 pounds on my total in a year and I'm done in 2 years, and you put 50 pounds on your total, but you powerlift for 10 years and I only did for 2, you're gonna be way ahead of me when it's all said and done. Like when the dust settles, you'll have a bigger total.
Yeah.
So that'd be my advice, to read a lot, listen to everyone, and take away the good shit and fuck all the bad stuff.
All right. And the last question, who was your biggest influence in sports growing up?
Shit. I grew up playing hockey, so this is a very obscure reference, but I always looked up to this guy, Ed Belfour. Okay. He's a goalie for the Chicago Blackhawks. But when it comes to powerlifting, Chuck Vogelpool was always like the dude that I watched and was like, holy shit, I want to be like that. So.
And what's it like knowing Chuck now?
It's crazy, man. Like when you first meet him, you're like, holy shit, I can't believe that's Chuck Vogelpool at breakfast or whatever. It's cool, man. He's a lot mellow from what he used to be, from what I'm told. Yeah. But he's the same sort of deal, man. Like he'll help you, whatever you need. Like he's a very knowledgeable guy and he's been through it. So that's one of the guys that when he tells you something, you listen to him. All right, dude. Where can viewers find you? My personal Instagram is AnthonyCW13, and then my business Instagram is trigger_warning_conjugate. If you search hashtag stay hated, you can find us. All right. Awesome, man. Thanks for the interview. All right, brother. Peace out.
Hold it, squat.